Portuguese prosecutors have officially made a German man a suspect over the disappearance of Madeleine McCann.
It's a crime that has haunted one family for over 15 years.
Please, if you have Madeleine, let her come home to her mummy, daddy, brother and sister.
I'm Mark Williams-Thomas, a former British detective turned journalist with over 30 years' experience investigating some of the biggest cases in the UK and worldwide. Just days after Madeleine was abducted, I was on the ground reporting.
The marina offers an easy access very quickly out to sea.
And I've been trying to solve the case ever since. In 2020 came the biggest breakthrough in 13 years. German authorities announced they had a prime suspect.
The suspect is a 43-year-old German national.
He is Christian B, a sex offender, paedophile and burglar. But 2 years on, police have not yet charged him. I'll be testing their evidence, uncovering new witnesses and pursuing a meeting with the prime suspect himself to find out if this man is the missing link in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann.
Please, if you have Madeleine, let her come home to her mummy, daddy, brother and sister.
When Madeleine vanished in 2007, police in Portugal combed the Algarve looking for her, interviewing possible witnesses and hundreds of potential suspects, and are even thought to have knocked on Christian B's door at his former farmhouse address, but he no longer lived there. Within months of Madeleine's disappearance, Christian B came back to Germany. I need to find people who knew him, visit some of the places he lived, and understand his offending behaviour to see if there are any definitive clues linking him to Madeleine McCann. The first place in Germany he shows up in late summer 2007 is an allotment site on the outskirts of Hanover, where he built a makeshift home. Wolfgang was his neighbour.
Sondern hauptsächlich in seinem Haus. Ich habe von ihm nur gehört, dass er mit Bierflaschen geklimpert hat. Also hat er wahrscheinlich viel Bier getrunken. Einmal seine Hunde hier rumstreuen ließ. Die haben ihre Hinterlassenschaften hier überall gelassen.
What did you think of Christian B? Did you like him?
Wenn man begegnet, man empfindet das sofort, ob man ihm gefällt oder nicht. Und ich habe gleich gesagt, das wird nie mein Freund.
Christian B rented the allotment for around 6 months in 2007. Then, 13 years later in 2020, following the announcement that he was the prime suspect, the police searched the area looking for any clues as to Madeleine's whereabouts. The world's media descended on the site, and underneath his makeshift house, the police found a cellar. The police have since searched this area. Tell me, what did they do?
Ich habe es auch nur, wie gesagt, es stand alles voller Polizeiautos. Ich weiß es auch nur durch die Zeitung, dass Christian B. hier irgendwas verscharrt haben soll.
The search found nothing. So if Christian B. had anything to hide, it was somewhere else. By the end of 2007, Christian B. left the allotment. For the next 5 years, he travelled between Portugal and Germany. By 2012, the McCanns were battling to keep the search for Madeleine alive. And Christian B. arrived in Braunschweig, Germany, to lead an apparently innocent life, running a kiosk selling confectionery. Bridget worked in the bar next door.
Hat Kinder im Kiosk, wenn sie mit den Eltern kamen, Lolli, also geschenkt. Er war immer lieb und nett zu den Kindern. Ich habe nur diese Seite von ihm kennengelernt.
Did Christian ever tell you anything, or did you ever hear of anything, whilst you knew him, that concerned you?
Auf gar keinen Fall. Im Gegenteil, die Gäste vom Kiosk mochten ihn sehr.
Sabine used to work for Christian B at the kiosk. She gives an alarming account of what went on behind closed doors.
Ich mochte ihn nie. Der war mir, weiß ich nicht, so unnahbar. Der hat nicht viel erzählt und hat immer nur gesagt, das und das und das muss gemacht werden. Und wenn ich wiederkomme, ist das gemacht.
And who would you see in the kiosk?
Immer nur junge Frauen, so 16, 17 Jahre alt.
Christian B was 36 years old when he first moved into the kiosk in 2012.
Schutzer das alle. Der hat auch eine Russin gehabt. Und die hat er wohl vermöbelt, aus dem Grund ist er abgehauen. Ich sagte, was willst du von so einem alten Kerl? Ja, Geld. Ich sag, was machst du dafür? Ja, dafür schlafe ich mit dem. Ich sag, bist du bescheuert? Ich hab sie nur grün und blau rausgehen sehen. Nächsten Morgen. Ich hab gedacht, das ist Schwein von Mann. Männer, die Frauen schlagen, haben nichts im Kopf. Die sind alle dusselig.
Do you think Christian B could be responsible for the abduction and murder of Madeleine McCann?
Also, weiß ich nicht, aber wer Frauen schlägt, dem traue ich alles zu. Das ist für mich kein richtiger Mann.
Christian B committed another shocking assault whilst living at the kiosk, one which would catch up with him in 2016 and ultimately lead to his arrest. Dina is a local German journalist who has been working with me as a researcher. We discussed distressing information describing the abuse of a child.
So the police get a report of a domestic incident that causes them to go to see Christian B at the kiosk. He's not there. They search it. What do they find?
Yeah. As a part of this investigation, they confiscated his computer and photographic equipment.
Right.
There they found child abuse material. On further research, they found that Christian B was in a relationship to a woman, a single mom.
Right.
She got a 5-year-old child. Christian B took this child to a park and made photos of her. On these photos, you could see that this girl was sitting in between his opened legs, and he was like showing his down, and he
Exposing
was,
himself.
Yeah, and this was one thing, and the other thing the police found was like photos where he actively sexually assaulted this child by putting her underpanty away aside and touching her there.
So when the police go there, he's not there. So what do? He goes on the run, doesn't he?
During this time, unfortunately, Christian B already was not in Germany anymore. So police put like a warrant to arrest him.
Christian B had left Germany and gone back to Portugal and Praia de Luz. In 2017, he was arrested following a complaint that he had exposed himself in front of a young girl. He was not charged in connection to this allegation, but he was extradited back to Germany and convicted of the sexual assault of the 5-year-old girl in the Braunschweig Park. This was to add to his previous child abuse convictions in March and October 1994 for sexually assaulting 2 different children, and in 2012 for dealing in child abuse material.
Christian B is a dangerous paedophile. One thing that runs through his offending behaviour is he keeps the footage of his offences.
Next, I visit a property still owned by Christian B, where he allegedly committed more child sexual offences. My investigation continues in Braunschweig, Germany. The sex offending material found on Christian B's computers in the kiosk proved that Christian B had abused another child. But in a derelict box factory outside town, police uncovered an even larger stash of incriminating evidence. I'm meeting a barmaid called Carola, one of the few people Christian B took there.
Dass man so eine Person kennt, das ist erschreckend, das macht einen wütend. Scheiße, warum hat man das nicht gesehen?
You say you took him to a piece of land. where was it and how did that come about?
Weil er mitgekriegt hat, dass wir dort einen Job auf dem Festival zu erledigen haben. Und er meinte, das ist doch meine Richtung, Richtung meine Heimat. Das, woran ich mich noch erinnere, ist, es war ein großes Stück Land, viel Wiese, hinten war Wald. Das sah für mich alles aus, als hätte er sich irgendwie ein Stück Land gekauft mit abgewrackten Gebäuden drauf. Kommt einem dann doch schon auch tagsüber komisch vor. Und da haben meine Kollegin und ich noch scherzhaft gesagt, Mensch, das ist ganz schön spooky hier. Wenn der hier jemanden verschwinden lässt, wird ja auch keiner mitkriegen.
Christian B bought the box factory around 2010 and used it as a second property whilst living at the kiosk.
This is an exciting moment, you know, getting to the location where Christian B hid some of his offending behaviour. He was staying here in his camper van within the grounds. Abandoned factory, car, even a little kid's ball.
In 2016, the factory was searched by police after a dog walker was alerted to a strong and foul smell. It was a buried dog, which later turned out to be one of Christian B's, and under it was a cache of child abuse material.
This reminds me of a number of scenes that I've seen in my time in the police where children are taken to derelict buildings and sexually abused. Just in here, there's a bed. It looks very similar to some of the child abuse videos that I've seen. And, you know, you never forget them. You know, I don't try and second guess the thought process of individuals. I go on evidence because people behave differently. But experience tells you that people do things for certain reasons. And when you're at this location, it's a perfect location for somebody, if they wanted to hide things, to commit crime without being seen. And it does beg the question, why did he buy this property?
I've been given a very significant document about the police search by a source.
I can tell you, they found 8,000 files of child abuse material, including with children, animals, and the children were aged between 0, so that's babies, and 12-year-old. There were 100 files found which Christian B was in. So they could see him on camera, and they identified some of those abuse locations being here in the box factory and also at his flat beside the kiosk. They found a girl aged 4 to 5 and the mother, both of them posed in photographs. The child was not Madeleine, but was a blonde girl, but they've been unable to identify who that girl is. So who is that 4 to 5-year-old girl in films? How did he end up having access to children to bring them here? Was he alone when he committed the offences? Were other people with him? Is this part of a paedophile ring? Is there a number of other individuals working with Christian? And that for me is a real worrying concern. Because if you carry on that line of thought, then it gets pretty dark. How does he get that child? What if he wants to abuse a child whilst he's in Portugal? Does Madeleine fit that profile? Does he abduct Madeleine and take Madeleine to a location, sexually abuse her, but then realise the heat is really on and he has to get rid of her quickly? Does he have the capacity to kill?
I can find no record of Christian B being charged in connection with anything found at the box factory, but my visit to the site has really concerned me. Amongst the material found was a horrific online chat that Christian B had about molesting and torturing a child, and I've tracked down the person that Christian B was talking to.
So I'm on my way to try and speak to a man using the name PanicSpats66, who was in communication with Christian B. This is dated the 29th of September 2013.
This extract from the chat is very graphic and disturbing. It shows the real depravity of two people discussing child sexual abuse.
Up until now, nobody in the public domain, including the media, have known who PanicSpat66 is. But I have found out. Hasn't taken a lot. I found him quite easily.
I find an address for him in a small town in southern Germany, and now I need to speak to him.
That one's open. This one's got shutters up.
I have a number, so I'm going to try calling him and set up an interview.
And who is PanicSpat66? Is that you?
Unfortunately, I can't play the rest of the brief conversation I had with PanicSpat66 because he would not give permission to use it. He did confirm he was PanicSpat66 and that he had been in contact with the police, but he claims he never knew Christian B and could tell me no more.
What I find really interesting is the police use this chat between Christian B and PanicSpat66 as being an important element of their theory. But what I struggle with is this is done in 2013, and Christian B is talking in the future tense. He's talking about, I want to get a young child to do this too. Not that I've done it, that I want to. So that would mean that he hasn't done it, and therefore in 2013, it can't possibly relate to Madeleine McCann.
Christian B has been linked to another child abduction, which took place in 2015 in Germany. As a result of Christian B being named prime suspect in Madeleine's disappearance, police investigated him for 5-year-old Inga Gericke's abduction. There are some significant similarities. Inga is a blonde girl under 6 years. She disappeared 8 years and 1 day after Madeleine, while she was on a family trip away with friends. We know that Christian B was in the region in May 2015. The location Inga vanished from is less than an hour's drive away from his box factory. And like Madeleine, Inga's whereabouts remain unknown. Inga's dad has never given a TV interview before.
Es ist der Ort, wo ich Inga zuletzt gesehen und erlebt habe. Ich habe ein paar Blumen, werde jetzt ein paar Blumen und mich noch mal an sie erinnern.
Now 6 years on, he's agreed to spend some time with me discussing his daughter's case to see if it could be connected in any way to Madeleine's disappearance.
Thank you for talking to me. This is going to be really difficult. I can't imagine for one moment what you and the family have had to go through all these years. But it's really important to take you back to the day that Inga disappeared.
Ja, ist okay.
Okay.
Wir waren an diesem 2. Mai 2015 eingeladen von einer befreundeten Familie, die auf dem Wilhelmshof lebt und arbeitet. Wir hatten eigentlich einen angenehmen Tag verbracht. Muss ich überlegen. Dann haben sich die Kinder noch ein bisschen beschäftigt, waren auf dem Spielplatz. Dann war noch ein Fußballspiel, was wir...
Jens's friend worked for the Christian organisation that owned the house and grounds, providing a public guest house and social care to the most vulnerable in society.
Kam dann der Vorschlag von der Gastgeberfamilie, ob wir dann nicht auch bis zum Abendbrot bleiben wollten. Inga war die letzte Zeit viel mit den anderen Kindern unterwegs. Und ich weiß noch, ich wollte ihr dann irgendwann auch ihre Jacke geben, weil es dann abends so ein bisschen frisch wurde. Und da hatte ich sie dann auch nicht mehr gesehen.
Who first raised the alarm that Inga had gone missing?
Das war die große Tochter unserer Gastgeberfamilie, die nach Inga dann schauen wollte und dann zurückkam und sagte, ich habe Inga nicht gefunden. Der erste Gedanke war, sie hat sich irgendwie verstecken wollen, ist in den Wald und hat nicht wieder zurückgefunden. Aber nach einer Stunde, wenn wir Inga nicht gefunden haben, wurde dann die Polizei informiert. Suchmannschaften ausgeschwärmt sind und dass Hubschrauber unterwegs waren, die Inga gesucht haben mit Wärmebildkameras. Und wir haben jede Minute damit gerechnet, dass jemand kommt und sagt, wir haben sie. Sie ist wieder da, alles ist gut. Haben einfach gehofft, das löst sich irgendwann schnell auf. Der Horror geht schnell vorbei. Aber das war es nicht. Es blieb eben so und das ist ja bis heute ungeklärt.
Over my years, I've dealt with a lot of families who have lost loved ones, missing, murdered. And initially, they get a lot of support from the police, by the media, the coverage. But there comes a point when they're on their own, when everything else disappears and you are literally on your own. Do you worry that people have moved on?
Ja, das denke ich. Das denke ich. So gut wie kein Kontakt mehr zur Polizei oder Staatsamt. Das macht mich schier wahnsinnig.
In 2020, the prosecutor in Brunswick made a very significant announcement that they were considering Christian B as the prime suspect for the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. As a result of that, Inga's case got a lot of attention as being connected to Christian B. What did you make of that?
Ja, ich hatte da große Hoffnung drauf, dass in dem Zusammenhang dann auch das Verschwinden von Inga doch endlich aufgeklärt wird. Hab aber von der Staatsanwaltschaft Stendal erfahren müssen, dass keine Verbindung zu dem Herrn B. und dem Fall Inga hergestellt werden kann.
Do you think you'll ever see Inga again?
Ich wünsche es mir. Ich wünsche es mir sehr. Aber glauben tue ich nicht dran. Ich denke, sie ist tot. Ich möchte endlich wissen, was passiert ist. Ich möchte dann vielleicht auch trauern dürfen. Und will die Erklärung dafür.
After months of investigation, the police have now ruled out Christian B as being responsible for Inga's disappearance. I know from working with families who have lost loved ones the desperate need for answers and some kind of closure. But what of the case against him in relation to Madeleine McCann? After 4 years of police investigation and much media hype, Christian B remains the prime suspect but has not been charged or even interviewed. I need to find out more from the German prosecutor, Hans Wolters.
Do you have evidence linking Christian B directly forensically to the murder of Madeleine McCann?
Wir haben keine forensischen Beweise für den Tod von Madeleine McCann.
You've been very clear to say that Madeleine is dead. Where was she killed?
In Portugal.
Do you believe her body remains in Portugal or was taken outside of the country?
Wo der Körper jetzt ist, kann ich nicht sagen. Wenn wir das wüssten, dann hätte man sicherlich gefunden.
So how specific can the police be about Christian B's whereabouts on the night Madeleine disappeared using the 680 telephone number?
Is it still the position that you believe Christian B was using the telephone number ending 680 when Madeleine disappeared?
Ja, wir gehen nach wie vor davon aus, dass diese Nummer von Christian B. benutzt wurde am Abend des Verschwindens von Madeleine McCann.
So are you telling me that on the 3rd of May you can place Christian B using the telephone number ending 680 outside Madeleine's apartment?
Ja, nach allem, was wir wissen, ist das tatsächlich so. Aber wir brauchen diesen Gesprächspartner, damit dieser Gesprächspartner uns auch noch mal sagen kann, mit wem er dieses Telefonat tatsächlich geführt hat.
The person who called the telephone ending 680 has still not been traced. So what next for the German investigation?
Are you confident you will charge him with the murder of Madeleine McCann?
Wenn wir nicht davon ausgehen würden, dass wir ihn anklagen könnten, dann müssten wir die Ermittlungen ja streng genommen einstellen. Wir haben Gott sei Dank alle Zeit, die wir brauchen. Christian B. ist für uns verfügbar. Er sitzt noch die nächste Zeit in Haft. Das heißt, wir haben keinen zeitlichen Druck und da macht es aus unserer Sicht tatsächlich keinen Sinn, jetzt irgendwie einen Schnellschuss zu produzieren, um einfach nur das Ganze vor Gericht zu bringen.
Mr. Wolters is adamant that Christian B. abducted and murdered Madeleine. Yet after this interview, I am no clearer as to the specific evidence he has and how he has come to that conclusion. But perhaps they have a key piece of evidence that we don't know about. The one person who can answer all of these questions is Christian B. I've had another response from him. He's changed his mind about talking to me face to face, but I'm going to continue to write to him to see if he'll reconsider. One person in contact with Christian B. is his defence lawyer, Mr. Fulcher. He is scathing of the German prosecutor and claims they have no evidence at all.
Dieser Fall ist komplett außergewöhnlich und auch in jeder Hinsicht.
Next, I reveal how the case has become a battleground between prosecutor and defence, and caught somewhere in between is the truth. After 4 years of investigation, no charges have been brought against Christian B in connection with Madeleine's disappearance. The case has become a war of words between the prosecution and the defence.
What did you make of the announcement from Mr. Wolters, the German prosecutor, that Christian B. was the prime suspect for the disappearance and murder of Madeleine McCann?
Ja, da muss ich ganz ehrlich sagen, das Verhalten der Staatsanwaltschaft Braunschweig ist für mich fast skandalös. Wiederholt, wir haben den richtigen, wir haben Beweise, dass das Mädchen tot ist und er sie umgebracht hat. Dem Beschuldigten wird aber nicht die Möglichkeit gegeben, diesem Vorwurf auch entgegenzutreten.
What communication or evidence have the German prosecutors, Mr. Wolters, given you about your client Christian B. being responsible?
Also diese Frage impliziert ja, dass es überhaupt Beweise gibt. Ja?
Is Christian B. responsible for Madeleine's disappearance?
Meiner Auffassung nach nein.
He denies it.
Selbstverständlich.
Christian B.'s lawyer believes he is innocent, although he also states that he is yet to see the prosecution case files.
My understanding from Mr. Wolters is that on the 3rd of May, Christian B. was using the telephone number ending 680 in Pride de Luz, and therefore that makes him outside Madeleine McCann's apartment and responsible. Is that your understanding?
Das ist das, wovon die Staatsanwaltschaft ausgeht. Meine Informationen sind andere. In meinen Augen ist das eine relativ wackelige Annahme, weil man zum einen feststellen müsste, wer hat das Telefon zu dieser Zeit wirklich genutzt, wenn es überhaupt seine Telefonnummer war.
Christian B. was in Pride de Luz, though, in May 2007, and in particular on the 3rd of May. He was in that area, wasn't he?
Dazu äußere ich mich nicht. Das sind, wo er wann gewesen ist etwas, was den Kern des Falles betrifft. Und das diskutiere ich nicht in den Medien.
Why are they so convinced in Germany, Mr. Wolters, that Christian B. is responsible?
Ja, das wüsste ich auch gerne.
Christian B. is currently in jail for the rape of a 72-year-old in Pride de Luz. Two witnesses, Manfred Seyferth and Helga Busching, testified in that case that videotapes they found in Christian B's home showed him violently sexually assaulting 2 different women.
Do you believe the evidence of Manfred Seeforth and Helga Busching is correct? Did that camera video exist?
Ich kann es mir nach meinem derzeitigen Kenntnisstand nicht vorstellen. Es wurde nicht.
Christian B's defence lawyer also believes that Helga Busching is a key witness in the Madeleine McCann investigation.
Ich halte diese beiden Zeugenaussagen für absolut unglaubhaft. Ganz bemerkenswert ist, dass dieser eine Belastungszeuge derselbe ist, der Christian in dem Mordfall Madeleine McCann belastet. Da sind wir uns sehr, sehr sicher, dass das der Fall ist.
I have a second source confirming that Helga Busching is indeed a key witness in Madeleine's case. I am told Busching's claim is that Christian B confessed to him at a music festival in 2008 that he is responsible for Madeleine's disappearance, but then took almost 10 years to tell the police this information. I need to speak to Busching, but whilst I try to get hold of him, what does his friend and supporting witness Manfred Seeforth have to say?
Why, 10 years later, does Helga decide to tell the police?
Keine Erklärung für. Bei Helga gibt es manche Dinge, die sind nicht erklärbar. Keine Erklärung für.
But Helga was in trouble himself when he contacted the police. Do you think Helga's sentence was reduced because he gave evidence against Christian B?
Kann ich mir nicht vorstellen.
He must have thought there was some benefit for him, because he's hardly the type of person to start going to the police and giving evidence on other people, is he?
Habe ich keine Ahnung und ich gehe auch nicht auf die aus freien Stücken zur Polizei zu gehen, bestimmt nicht, aber...
I have also heard from various sources that Busching and Seeforth were paid for the evidence they gave for the prosecution of Christian B for the rape of the 72-year-old.
Has Helga been paid for any of the evidence he's given in relation to Christian B?
Ja, in Braunschweig hat Geld bekommen für die Aussage, die macht da Zeugengeld, Arbeitsausfall, tralala, das ist alles bezahlt worden, ja.
And did they pay you as well? Did they give you some money to come to court to give evidence?
Keine Ahnung, 500 und noch was und den Hund in die Pension da in Italien und Taxi dann zurück, weil nicht geht und...
So just to be clear, the German authorities, in order for you to give evidence against Christian B, they paid for your flights, your taxis, they covered the cost of your dog being looked after, and they gave you 500 euros.
Ja.
Is Helga Busching a truthful man or a fantasist?
Das heißt ein Fantast. Wie meinst du das? Dass da lügt in der Sache oder wie, weiß ich nicht. Nee, Helge ist, nochmal zu mir ist es immer korrekt.
Expenses can be paid to witnesses in the UK and Germany for loss of earnings and subsistence. But can Busching's alleged claim that Christian B confessed to him about Madeleine be relied upon? I have tracked down Busching, but he refuses to speak in any detail. He did, however, confirm his claim that Christian B confessed to him, but he would not tell me what he said. My inquiries around Busching pay off. A contact sends me a video recording of him talking to another person, where he says he will give details, but for a price.
So that was fascinating. I can't show you the video, unfortunately, because I've been given it by a source and it hasn't been cleared by Helga. He's wearing this flap jacket, which is clearly French police. And he's not just wearing that, he's got his face covered with some kind of mask. And this is how the conversation goes. So he says that he wants money, but he doesn't want it directly to him. He wants 50,000 euros transferred to the McCann's fund. And only when that's done will he talk. He says this is very dangerous. You should not get involved in this case. This is the really key bit. He says he and Christian B know it all. His credibility after having watched this video is in real doubt. I think Helga's evidence has to be treated with real caution.
Having a key witness like Bushing as part of the case against Christian B for the abduction and murder of Madeleine does concern me. I get information from a contact in Praia de Luz about a central part of the prosecution case, the mobile phone call made on the night Madeleine disappeared. Was the number ending 680 really being used by Christian B that night? And if so, does that phone place him outside Madeleine's apartment? I'm heading back to Portugal to test the evidence. German police say they believe that Christian B is the user of the mobile number ending 680. But how close to Madeleine's apartment can the user of 680 actually be placed on the night she disappeared?
Behind me is the mast where 680 pinged on the night Madeleine disappeared, and just 200 yards up here is the Ocean Club where Madeleine vanished from.
The case has haunted local residents for 13 years, and they've been doing their own private investigations on the mobile phone data and the locations of the cell masts that existed in 2007. One of the group is Jim McCallum, and he's asked to meet me to explain his theory. They have no professional experience or formal qualifications in this area, but it's worth hearing what Jim has to say.
The mast is effectively in the centre of Lush.
Yeah.
And we know that the distance from the next cell is 6 kilometres.
So the user of 680 was within 6 kilometres of the Praia de Luz mast, but we cannot be any more specific than that.
Correct.
We cannot say that the user of 680 was by or near Madeleine's apartment, can we?
In terms of geographical distance, no.
This map shows all the mobile phone masts around Praia de Luz in May 2007. We know that the 680 phone connected to the Praia de Luz mast, which has a range of 35 kilometres, and that you can't fix a phone location from just one mast. But even if the Praia de Luz mast was the closest one to the 680 user, it still covers a large area surrounding Praia de Luz. So we cannot say that the user was outside the Ocean Club. All we can say for certain is that they were within 35 kilometres of the Praia de Luz mast. This could be a massive problem for the prosecution's case, but overnight I get a call that could affect their whole investigation. My colleague, Portuguese journalist João Godinho, has been working alongside me and has covered Madeleine's disappearance from the start.
Morning, Mark.
Morning, mate. How are you?
Good. Yeah. Listen, I got a phone call last night, late last night, with a piece of information which does offer a completely different perspective.
Really?
So my call last night is that the number 680 that we are told was being used on the evening of the 3rd of May 2007 by Christian B. But that might not be true.
It's a massive development that it would turn around the whole investigation, I believe.
My source, who won't be identified, just won't be identified, too close to how they got the information.
My source is official, and they showed me a document proving that between April and December 2006, the 680 number was being used by a German friend of Christian B's. This person lives just outside Ferrol, a 40-minute drive from Praia de Luz, the same village that Christian B was parked, living in his van around the time that Madeleine disappeared. Central to the German case is that Christian B was using the 680 number on the night Madeleine vanished. But was he? I'm now going to see the man I'm told was using that number 5 months before Madeleine was taken, to see what he has to say. I just hope he will talk to me.
But let me come in and just literally come in, explain. He can listen to me. I'll tell him what I've got to say, and he can make his mind up. But he could help. He could massively help.
So frustrating. I need to confirm if he was using 680 in 2007. But given he won't talk to me, I must find another way. During this investigation, I have established a direct line of communication with Mr. Wolters, the German prosecutor. Now I need to put to him this new information about the phone.
I just had a chat with the prosecutor. So the telephone number 680. He has a witness, and that witness has told them, that Christian was using that number, but not on the 3rd of May. We have no evidence that says that he was using it on the 3rd of May. All we have is one witness saying that that telephone number was being used by Christian B at some stage prior to Madeleine's disappearance. He's saying they'd had a couple of phone calls, and every time they rang, Christian B answered the phone. That's their evidence. And that witness, we now know, is a woman. That woman has no previous convictions, and for them is of good character. They don't have him on the phone on the 3rd of May in prior. They don't have anyone other than one female witness telling them he used that phone 680. Why not? What about all the other people that Christian B must have been in contact with? Not one of them. Yeah, we're over a year now, and there's not one other person who's come forward and said Christian B was using that number 680. Nobody. Why? Why?
So this means no one, it seems, can place Christian B in Praia-da-Luz on the night Madeleine disappeared. Also, there are real questions about the credibility of one of the prosecution's key witnesses.
As I start to investigate this more and more, the castle's falling down.
Christian B's lawyer, Mr. Fulcher, has said, Christian B has said